This is Matthew Cratter from Bitcoin University, and today I wanted to talk about why Bitcoin Cash just keeps on losing and losing and losing. I'll admit it, I'm a bit of a glutton for punishment because I sometimes take pleasure in engaging with Bcashers, with supporters of BCH on Twitter. They're not the brightest bunch, and they often like making exaggerated references to their own genitalia as a justification for their investment choices. I've always found this weird. We've got P2P or GTFO here saying it takes big balls to like big blocks. I make a video about Bitcoin Cash probably every 12 months. The first one I made was on August 9th of 2020, in which I said Bitcoin Cash is trash. And we can see how it's performed since I put out that video. Bitcoin, the real Bitcoin BTC, is up 143%. And Bitcoin Cash, in spite of the huge upwards move in many cryptocurrencies we've had over the past 4 years, Bitcoin Cash over that period is down 24%. If you take a look at Bitcoin Cash's performance against Bitcoin, this is the real exchange rate that matters, how things perform against BTC. We can see that over that same time period, this is what the BCH BTC chart looks like. If we scroll out, we can see quite how brutal it has been for Bcash holders. BCH has basically gone to zero against BTC, which is the real Bitcoin. This discussion with P2P or GTFO started, this is how it often starts, and you'll see the little green, the green Bitcoin logo, which they've basically stole from Satoshi and colored it green. He started off by saying, I don't think BTC is very viable money at 7 transactions per second. And they'll often try to draw you in with various talking points. And then, of course, the punchline, like some religious salesman at your door, is, of course, you need to buy BCH. My response to Bitcoin not being very viable money at 7 transactions per second was to point out that FedWire, which clears trillions of dollars per year, also has approximately 7 transactions per second. And then, of course, I'll link to this thread in the description notes below. You can see all of the different turns and twists that the conversation took. Bitcoin Cash, Bcash, is a failed fork of Bitcoin. It forked off, is a hard fork, and it forked off on August 1st of 2017. It received a lot of support from an early Bitcoin investor named Roger Ver, who's become a bit of a persona non grata among Bitcoiners ever since he supported Bcash. And you have to watch out for this guy because he owns Bitcoin.com. And if you go to bitcoin.com, you can see that he's pushing BCH on there. So that's something to be aware of, especially for newcomers. Now, one of the selling points of Bcash, of BCH, was the larger block size. This was all part of what you've heard of as the block size wars. What Bitcoin Cash offered and still offers is 32 megabytes per block. So let's take a look and see how much demand there is for that block space and how that extra block space is being utilized. By contrast, Bitcoin has a maximum block size of, BTC has a maximum block size of 4 megabytes, including the witness data as well. But for all this extra block space that Bitcoin Cash brought, 32 megabytes, we can see that there's barely any demand for the block space. The last block 23 minutes ago just had 14 transactions. We can see transaction fees are very, very low. This is often touted as a selling point by Bcashers. But the reason they're so low is because there's no demand for the block space. And so you have these giant blocks, you have 32 megabytes, and they can't even figure out how to get a full megabyte in there. We can see the largest block right here is 118 kilobytes, not megabytes. So this is a blockchain that not only is the price dead and dying, but the block space has very, very little demand. If you're enjoying this video so far, I just ask you to hit that subscribe button. That really will help me out with the algorithm and help to spread this channel's education. As I said, Bcash fees are so low because there's so little demand for Bcash block space. If we contrast that with Bitcoin BTC block space, we'll first look at BCH. We can see just nothing going on. We contrast that with BTC. We can see the last block had 22,785 transactions, and we can see that this was plenty of space, 1.5 megabytes. Fees are a little bit higher here, and this is because it's a free fee market and there is demand for this block space, unlike Bcash block space. In my discussion with P2P or GTFO, he provided this comparison, which I'll link to in the description notes below, why he thinks BCH is much better than BTC. and lots and lots of misleading things, as I mentioned in the tweet thread with him in the discussion. I've covered all these things on my channel, but I just wanted to talk about the top two things, why he thinks that Bcash is better than BTC. Instant transactions on chain done securely, very low transaction fees. We've already talked about that. What he fails to mention is that Bitcoin Cash does not offer the same settlement finality for your transactions. One of the points of settling things on Bitcoin is after a certain point, after a certain number of blocks have been put on top of the block that your transaction is in, your transaction has what's called final settlement assurances or final settlement guarantees. And what this means is it's extremely difficult and extremely unlikely that the blockchain can be rewritten up until that point. So the normal settlement time, as especially if you're moving large amounts of money like billions of dollars, you're always taught to wait about 6 confirmations, which is 6 10-minute blocks, so approximately an hour for Bitcoin. And so when people say that, for example, Litecoin is faster because it has faster blocks that come out every 2.5 minutes on average rather than every 10 minutes on average, when you look at the cost to reverse the blockchain and rewrite it and undo your transaction and undo its transaction finality, we can see that Litecoin takes 16 hours to give you the same settlement finality that Bitcoin does. So it's 17x slower, and Bitcoin Cash is 5 days. It takes 5 days to achieve the same settlement finality that you get from BTC in just an hour. So Bcash is 120x slower than BTC. This is one of many problems. If we take a look at the Bcash hash rate, it's basically dead in the water for the last 3 years, hovering at about 4 exahash per second. And we can see it just going sideways here. No one's really adding hash power to the network because this is a failed project. By contrast, BTC's hash rate has just skyrocketed, especially over the past few months. But this is the same chart, the 3-year chart, and we can see how it trends upwards to the right. And rather than having a hash rate of just 4 exahashes per second, which is generous for Bcash, Bitcoin currently has a hash rate 100 times that of 400 exahashes, as we can see, exahashes per second, as we can see on the y-axis over here. As Charles Edwards points out, Bitcoin's hash rate, BTC's hash rate, is going absolutely bonkers, up 3x since Bitcoin last peaked at around 69,000. The level of investment is insane. Normally, hash rate growth drops in bear markets. This is the first time that it's increased, and this is extremely significant as well for Bitcoin's price performance over the coming cycle. I think it's going to be face melting, especially with BlackRock coming in, the Fed pausing, and the halving coming up in April of 2024. This is a step change in mining industrialization. Charles Edwards goes on to say, energy companies and governments are here mining Bitcoin. And this was really my final question for P2P or GTFO. If the tech is so superior for Bcash, which it clearly isn't, as we can see from block space utilization and from the hash rate, there's really no demand for this. Why is global adoption and usage so much lower for Bcash? Bcash has been losing against BTC for over 6 years now, both in terms of market cap and adoption. Why do you think this is? And he never had a good explanation for that. He said maybe it's Tether pumping BTC, which is, of course, the last refuge of people who don't know what they're talking about, attributing everything to Tether. If we take a look at a historical snapshot of coin market cap from December of 2017, shortly after the hard fork, Bitcoin Cash was doing decently. It had a market cap of 31 billion, and it was number 3 in terms of ranking by market cap. And if we take a look at the same website today, coinmarketcap.com, we have to scroll way down. Bitcoin Cash's market cap has fallen to just 4.4 billion, and it's now number 17. It's not even in the top 10 anymore. So it takes a lot of stubbornness to hold on to a coin like this. I would say that being wrong is okay. I've been wrong many times in my life. I was very much against Bitcoin for the first, call it 10 years of its existence. The problem is staying wrong. That's the really dumb thing, and that's where people really shoot themselves in the foot. and make big financial mistakes. Some people will ride their shitcoins to zero. BCH supporters, many of them will certainly do this. We already talked about Hex and Crypto Nomad. This was a tweet from June 15 in which Crypto Nomad was talking about one of my videos about Hex. This guy's been covering Hex and Pulse Chain in all the wrong ways. So much misinfo. I'm actually out of words. Disappointed he misleads his 200,000 YouTube followers. On a good day, I'd have loved to have a candid conversation, but Bitcoin maxis are beyond saving. If we take a look at what Bitcoin's done since I put out that video, Bitcoin's up 11% and Hex is down 55%. It's been a complete disaster. What's happening these days is there's this great self-sorting going on right now where people pick their coins, they pick their tribes, they pick their communities, and then we will see where this goes from here. I think many people are going to go down the drain with Bcash and ETH and Solana and Hex. The Hexicans have already gone down the drain, Cardano and other garbage like this. The choices that you make today for your portfolio will have profound implications for your financial well-being over the next decade, as well as profound implications for your having access to basic goods and services that may be banned by governments, but which freedom money, P2P, real peer-to-peer money can get you access to, especially when everyone's locked down in a CBDC. Having some Bitcoin is going to be essential if you want to transact in a free manner with other human beings on this planet. Many will ride their shitcoins down to zero and then get trapped in fiat CBDCs because they picked Bcash, for example, instead of BTC. But buying BTC today gives you a seat at the table. It gives you a seat at the table in the new financial order that is coming. So make sure that you choose wisely and make sure that you use your brain to decide whether you like big blocks or not, and not use that other part of your anatomy instead. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video, and let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.